Hey everyone! Today we're diving into some important XRP news and crypto safety tips that could seriously impact your investments. Smart regulation is key for crypto's future. First up, let's talk about something huge from the block. Ripple's Stuart Alderati just made a brilliant point about crypto regulation. He's basically saying, hey lawmakers, crypto doesn't need a Dodd-Frank moment. What does that mean for us? Well, he's urging regulators not to just slap old, outdated financial rules onto this brand new digital asset space. Think about it. You wouldn't use a horse and buggy manual to fix a Tesla, right? Here's what really gets me excited about his approach. He's pushing for future-proof regulations. This is huge because we currently have a pro-crypto administration. But what happens when the next one comes in? We've all seen how quickly things can flip. Nobody wants another crypto winter caused by regulatory uncertainty. I'm really hoping we see some solid legislation passed before the end of this year. The stability would be incredible for the entire space. That ridiculous 197 XRP headline. Okay, I have to address this next story, and honestly, it drives me crazy every time I see articles like this. The headline reads, XRP could be worth $197 if Bitcoin gets 10 times bigger than gold. Here's why I absolutely hate these kinds of articles, even though I'm showing it to you. They make it sound like XRP's success is completely tied to Bitcoin's performance. This narrative is so misleading. Listen, XRP was literally built to be better than Bitcoin. It's faster, more energy efficient, and designed for real-world financial institutions. Eventually, and I truly believe this, XRP is going to decouple from Bitcoin entirely. It might even take the #1 spot. These articles always try to paint this picture where XRP only succeeds if Bitcoin succeeds first. That's just not how this works. And frankly, it's not factual at all.
Stay safe out there. Scam alert. Now, this next part is super important for your safety. I'm seeing this warning everywhere. This comes from Westwind. Fake, fake, fake. Scammers trying to steal your funds. Only in-app support can be trusted. Here's the deal. We are so close to some major developments in crypto, which means the scammers are out in full force. You've got to keep your crypto safe right now. Remember this simple rule. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And please, please get your crypto off the exchanges. Think of it this way. You don't buy groceries at the store and then leave them there, right? So why would you buy crypto on an exchange and just leave it sitting there? Even your robot vacuum is dangerous now? Here's something that made me chuckle. Apparently, security experts are now warning that robot vacuums and other smart home devices can be hacked to record you typing in passwords or your seed phrases. I mean, come on. Now they're telling us that our Roomba is going to steal our Bitcoin? They're even referencing Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. You know, the movie where all the machines turn evil. Look, I get it. Security is important. But here's my take. As long as you're not falling for obvious scams and you store your crypto on a proper hardware wallet like Trezor or Ledger, you're going to be absolutely fine. The real threats you should actually worry about. You want to know what the biggest problems in crypto actually are? It's not your robot vacuum plotting against you. The real dangers are people copying and pasting wallet addresses without double-checking them, clicking on links that seem too good to be true. Those fake AI videos you keep seeing with celebrities offering free XRP airdrops. You know the ones I'm talking about. Those deepfake videos of famous people promising to double your crypto if you send it to them first. Don't fall for it.
The bottom line, stay smart, stay safe, and remember, we're in this for the long haul. The crypto space is evolving rapidly, regulation is coming, and XRP has incredible potential beyond just following Bitcoin's lead. Keep your eyes open, your crypto secure, and let's see what happens next in this wild world of digital assets. Don't get caught by comment section bots. And here's another crucial warning. There's no such thing as a free XRP airdrop from these celebrity accounts. Zero. None. But here's where it gets even trickier. You might think you're being smart by not clicking the links, but then you end up interacting with bots in the comment sections. You start talking to them, thinking you're having a real conversation, and boom, they've got another angle to steal your crypto. By now, you should absolutely realize this golden rule. Anything that seems too good to be true is too good to be true. Period. Smart escrows could be XRP's next big breakthrough. Now, let's talk about something actually exciting. David just broke down why smart escrows and light programmability built natively into the XRP ledger could be the next massive development for XRP.
The XRP ledger was purpose-built to solve specific financial use cases with the DEX, issued assets, escrows, forthcoming loans. I think we'll be able to address the major financial use cases through native transactors that implement the functionality that people need, like loans will be able to be done that way. But I think that you can only target something like the most valuable, most important sort of 80% of those use cases, which is great. You could be very successful just targeting the most interesting 80%. But I'm hoping that with smart transactors, we can sort of expand to get to use cases that we can almost hit, that we just need a little bit more flexibility to hit. I think also there's some very specific use cases that can probably only be done through a little bit of a smart contract. So one example would be trustless bridging or trust minimized bridging. All of the great bridging solutions and interoperability solutions that we're seeing require just a little bit more flexibility than we can get from from smart transactors that don't have programmability. So I'm hoping that with just a little bit of programmability, we can just get a lot of bang for the buck. And I don't want to turn the XRP ledger into another, Turing-complete Ethereum clone. But I also don't want us to be cut out from functionality that we could have. And so I think we can get a lot of interesting additional use cases that have real-world value and still preserve things like, fast transactions, low and predictable transaction fees, and the security and reliability of not doing everything through a smart contract.
I couldn't agree more.
This is fascinating stuff. What David's explaining here is brilliant. They don't want to bloat the XRP ledger with unnecessary features, and they definitely don't want to create just another Ethereum clone. Instead, with light programmability, they could unlock even more utility for XRP without sacrificing what makes it special: speed, efficiency, and reliability. And most importantly, they definitely don't want to slow down transactions in any way. I absolutely love this approach because it shows they're thinking strategically about XRP's future, not just copying what everyone else is doing. Circle considers reversible USDC transactions. Here's something interesting that caught my attention. Circle is considering making USDC stablecoin transactions reversible. Basically, if their stablecoin is being used for illegal activities, they could reverse those transactions. Sound familiar? It's almost exactly like what Ripple has with the clawback feature for RLUSD. And honestly, I think this makes perfect sense. Here's why. Without features like this, you're simply not going to get mainstream adoption. You're definitely not going to get institutional adoption. Banks and major corporations need these safeguards in place. I actually think when Ripple created the clawback feature, it was probably something the banks they're working with specifically requested. Now it looks like Circle is heading in the exact same direction, and that's smart business. European banks challenge dollar dominance. Now this is huge. 9 major European banks just launched a Euro stablecoin consortium to challenge dollar dominance. Remember what I said in my video a few days ago? Christine Lagarde has been calling for a level playing field in Europe, and I think she's going to achieve that through RippleNet and XRP. That would definitely give Europe the level playing field they're looking for. What's happening right now is these 9 European banks are creating one unified stablecoin that they can all use between their institutions. I think it's a brilliant idea, and it falls under MiCA regulations too. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, this stablecoin is still going to need a bridge currency. And what's the bridge currency? XRP. Trump's AI verification system announcement. In yesterday's video, I mentioned that Trump announced an AI verification system at the United Nations. If you missed that, here's what he said.
I'm announcing today that my administration will lead an international effort to enforce biological weapons convention, which is going to be meeting with the top leaders of the world by pioneering an AI verification system that everyone can trust. Hopefully the UN can play a constructive role, and it will also be one of the early projects under AI. Let's see how good it is, because a lot of people are saying it could be one of the great things ever, but it also can be dangerous, but it could be put to tremendous use and tremendous good, and this would be an example of that.
This is actually the beginning of a digital ID system, because everyone would need a digital ID, so the AI can verify who you are and confirm you're actually who you say you are, Now, if you want to avoid a digital ID system, Whitney Webb had some interesting thoughts on this. She said, if people simply do not comply with digital ID requirements, the whole system will fail. Take a listen.
These people have invested so much money on finding every excuse they can to try and get us, in the case of digital ID, get us to voluntarily want to adopt it. And we have to focus on the fact that if digital ID does not succeed and people do not comply, it will fail. I mean, it is the cornerstone of like the entire UN Agenda 2030. Without it, the programmable surveillable money won't work. A lot of their designs for what they want to do in the online virtual world will not work. And so much of it will not work if we do not comply with digital ID, and they're trying to force it on us as a voluntary thing. Sort of in the same way that vaccine passports were voluntary. Which is why I encourage people, if you want to change the direction the world is going, you need to figure out how you are going to set up your life so you don't have to comply with digital ID the same way. Maybe if you were forced to comply with vaccine mandates and vaccine passports, how will you get around those type of restrictions when they try and impose, digital ID on people for various reasons?
They are absolutely going to try pushing everyone into using a digital ID system. But as Whitney pointed out, if people don't comply with it, the system will fail. The UBI and digital ID connection. Here's the problem though. We're now at a critical time where AI is really picking up momentum and universal basic income is being talked about everywhere. Think about this. To get that UBI, you're most likely going to need a digital ID. And that's exactly how they'll get people to sign up. They'll offer free money and people will willingly hand over their digital identity just to get it. That's why I think digital ID will probably succeed in the future. But here's the key. If you already have money, you could potentially opt out of this entire system. If you're holding crypto, maybe you're transacting on crypto rails instead of the UBI rails or the central bank digital currency rails. You see why it was so important that we had the vision years ago to get into XRP? Having that vision to see where the world is heading and understanding how XRP can possibly keep you away from systems like UN Agenda 2030, which is still in full effect, by the way. They're still pushing toward that goal and other countries are moving full steam ahead. But maybe, just maybe, through crypto, you could break yourself free from it. Digital ID cards becoming mandatory. The call for mandatory digital ID cards is really gaining traction. This report comes from Smoke, and we're seeing it go full mainstream in the UK right now, along with other countries pushing hard for this. What they're telling people is simple. If you don't have this digital ID, you won't be able to access the internet anymore. You won't get free education. You won't be able to take advantage of other government programs. That's exactly how they'll get people to sign up for it. The UBI sales pitch. But UBI is going to be the biggest selling point because people are already calling for universal basic income. And the guy creating all these robots, Elon Musk, is giving you a sales pitch about universal high income. Here's what they're not telling you up front. Your income is going to be based on your work history and your education level. Some people will probably get universal high income, but most people are going to end up on basic income.
And people who don't want to work at all or don't even have a work history,
they're most likely going to get the bare minimum. That's the part they don't tell you about. That information will come later when it's already too late, when you've already allowed them to pass things like digital ID requirements. DNA on the XRP ledger, the testing ground. Here's something that really caught my attention. DNA is coming to the XRP ledger, and that's part of this system as well. Onboarding everyone's DNA to the blockchain. Take notice of where they rolled this out. They didn't start in the United States because most people wouldn't comply. They didn't start in the UK because, again, most people wouldn't comply. Instead, they started in Africa as a testing ground. They went to countries where people need incentives, where a little bit of money can get people to put their DNA on chain. Then later, they'll start expanding to other countries as they bring in more and more funding, so they can offer bigger and bigger incentives. It's a gradual rollout strategy, and it's working exactly as planned. Political pushback continues. Speaking of pushback, Senator Elizabeth Warren is calling for an investigation into Trump aides, and she's also talking about Trump making money off of all these coins, like Trump coin and so on. Elizabeth Warren's crypto hypocrisy. But wait a minute. Where was Elizabeth Warren while Nancy Pelosi was getting absolutely wealthy off insider trading in the stock market? You know why she's jumping on board with this? Because it goes right along with her crypto crackdown agenda. This woman absolutely hates crypto. And honestly, her hatred for crypto is going to get her pushed out of office eventually. Someone who's actually pro-crypto will end up taking her place. I don't even know who she's fighting for at this point, herself or the big banks. It's definitely not the people she was elected to represent, because crypto is not slowing down. The digital revolution is unstoppable. None of this is going to slow down. In fact, it's going to continue accelerating because we're pushing into the digital age. The fourth industrial revolution is here. The fifth industrial revolution is here as well. And nothing is going to stop that from happening. We're way too far along now. Wait until they start embedding stablecoins into the economy. I'm talking at massive scale. Once that happens, it's game over.
You will never get them out of the system once they're embedded. It's not like you could just go in and say, okay, we're just going to remove stablecoins now. It'll already be too late once they start gaining mainstream adoption, and suddenly every single retailer is accepting stablecoins. The RLUSD opportunity. Here's where it gets exciting for us. You could sell a little bit of your XRP into RLUSD, hold that RLUSD, and then go shopping with it. And at the same time, you'll be earning yield off that RLUSD as well. So if you're holding a lot of it, maybe your everyday spending ends up getting paid back through the yield you're earning. There are so many options opening up. We're still early, but the agenda continues. We're still so early in this space. But you can already see that Agenda 2030 is still completely intact in other countries. It hasn't slowed down at all. The only pivot here in the United States so far is that we're not going to have a central bank digital currency. Instead, we're going to have stablecoins. But here's the thing. They're essentially one and the same. People don't realize that they just have a different issuer. The bottom line for XRP holders. At the end of all this, as XRP holders, what do you think about these developments? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. But remember, don't engage with any bots offering free crypto. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more crypto updates.